Good morning, Laguna Woods. Welcome to Inspiration for Today. I wanted to give our studio audience the opportunity to applaud. It's fun to have you guys back. And thank you. If anyone out there in Laguna Woods would like to come down for some tapings, we usually do it on a Tuesday morning. Love to have you come join us. It's a lot of fun down here. And so we do several shows at a time, and I know that we would love to have you. My guest this morning is Debbie. And Debbie, what's your last name?
It's Nessen.
Debbie Nessen. And it's so great to have you on.
Thank you.
And Debbie, I find your story so fascinating because I so appreciate the Jewish background or Christianity and Judaism really are, well, we share the same Old Testament. We call it the Old Testament, but obviously not the Old Testament for those of Jewish tradition, which you grew up in, did you not?
I did.
Tell us about that.
I was born 100% Jewish. My father was an immigrant from Russia in 1915.
Huh.
And I was the first born from his family in the United States. So
And I think it was in the New York area, was it?
no, they
No?
came right to Boston. Some of the
Boston.
well, they had to go to Ellis Island, and they had relatives in the Boston area, and that's where that branch of the family settled.
So you were born in Boston
I was born and raised in Boston,
and grew up in.
and I grew up in a Jewish home where Jewish holidays were celebrated. But as I can look back on it now, it was kind of culturally Jewish. I mean, I was always
Yeah.
searching as a young child, isn't there more than just the holidays? You know, you're kind of born into a family or a religion, and everybody assumes you know everything. But you're just a little kid that
Yeah.
doesn't really know. You just go along with what's happening. So,
Which, and no little kid doesn't like holidays
right.
and stuff.
So,
I mean,
so I grew up, believing of Jewish is holidays. It's matzah balls, it's
Yeah.
Hanukkah, it's lighting candles, it's loving our God, it's trying to obey the commands. I always knew what the 10 Commandments were.
sure,
And
because
but
Moses recorded them.
yeah, but I was very little, and I was taught to read Hebrew at a very young age. I was the youngest one reading Hebrew. They put me up on like a soapbox to reach the podium for graduation services. I was reading in Hebrew. I didn't know what it meant, but I could read it fluently.
Is that right?
Yeah, and
I took 2 years of Hebrew at the college level, graduate level,
it's not
and I'm not sure I could read
it's
much.
not that different from the our alphabet. It's starts with an A and
Yeah,
Aleph, and
no,
it ends.
I know that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but
but
anyway,
you went to,
I
what did
went.
you call the
It was
school?
well, a yeshiva is a Hebrew school, but where I was sent, it was called Lubavitch Yeshiva because it was an Orthodox. It's one of the highest levels of, I guess,
Oh,
following the law. That must.
but that was taught in
And
English, right?
it was taught in English, but I mean, at a very young age, I was doing things that when we woke up in the morning, we were taught we had to have a cleansing ritual. Before you did anything, you went into the bathroom and you poured water over your hands and said a water prayer, Mayim, a water prayer. And we said the whole Shema Yisroel. You cover your eyes for the second little, because it's a God's special prayer. I mean, angels' special prayer to God. We don't want to make them jealous. We were
Yeah.
taught to whisper it and cover our eyes when we say it. And
I so appreciate that, and that those who are doing it well, even at that time. I mean, you had a
what
young love for the Lord.
I did, and
Yes.
I felt connected, but not in a way that I understood. I didn't have that. I did not grow up with a personal relationship to God like I have
Yeah.
now.
And so how, with that as a background, and I share this because all of us, well, we have many Jewish friends.
Right.
I still do. Obviously,
Yeah.
many of that tradition live in Laguna Woods. But so, at what point, or how did you come to see Yeshua as the Messiah?
Well, I've kind of been a seeker for 10 years because I would go into the synagogue and, they talk. I don't know what they're talking about. It's not a teaching church like we have here. It was just a lot of what they're supposed to say that day, and it didn't have much meaning, and I couldn't really relate to it much. So when I went into synagogue, I felt a disconnect.
Mm.
Some of the songs and some of the prayers were familiar, but other than that, I had no connection. I didn't feel God touching me. I just knew I was born Jewish. So I've been seeking God for a long, long time. And
So how old were you at that point?
let's say
When you were really starting to think
I was
things
seeking
through?
God maybe for the last 20 years. Hanging out with people. Oh, we have this grandmother's group. They've had visions of the divine. They want to empower women.
Hmm.
Maybe this is we can. I could tell they're seeking God, but nobody's mentioning God. I'm thinking they're a bunch of dissatisfied people with their religion that still want a connection, but they didn't like what they had. And so I'm doing that, and then I'm getting involved with these people that are channeling other people, and I'm not really realizing what this is all about. It's like medium. Not that I was doing it. It was out there.
Yeah.
I was reading about it, and some of these people seemed like they know what they were talking about. So that's how I'm seeking. And I moved to Laguna Woods, and I met some friends, and one of these girlfriends said, I wanted my whole life to have a Bible study group. Would you please come? Her name is Nancy Alpino, one of my dearest friends. And I knew that nobody was Jewish, but that's all right. I like to read the Bible, but I didn't study the Bible the way we study here. I had a few books that I could understand somewhat. I could read the book of Esther. I could read the book of Ruth. I could read parts of Daniel. You know,
Okay.
there were, things that were easier to understand. And so I walked into Nancy's house, and she explains that I'm Jewish, and their eyes open up. And one of my dearest friends, Gina, she's an usher at church, and she helps with the collections. She says to me, "You don't know Jesus?" I said, "No, I don't." She goes, "Do you want to know Jesus?" I said, "Yes, I do." And she said to Nancy, "Stop the lesson." We were watching a Rick Warren study, and she says, "Go get the movie I gave you about Jesus last year." And they bring up a movie about Jesus. We're going to teach Debbie about Jesus. And so for the next 2 weeks, I watched the movie, every detail that this movie had about Jesus, and my heart was just, okay, we don't want me to cry yet. And I felt his love. And and yeah, so it's just been an amazing journey. I started coming to Saddleback, and you and all the wonderful pastors, especially Rick Warren, made a believer out of me.
Mm.
And I started studying the Bible. You baptized me on June 30th, 2014. So it's coming up 5 years. And during those 5 years, I've been involved in at least 3 Bible studies a week. So I've gotten, quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Once
Yeah.
you open your heart to the Lord, He has just continued to move your life so rapidly toward Him.
And all my friends, so I didn't know I was on fire, but I couldn't shut my mouth. People, people were walking away from me. So I wasn't really accomplishing what I was trying to do, but I was so excited with the Lord, and I just couldn't stop talking about it. And every word out of my mouth was saddleback this and saddleback that. And my daughter at the time said, "I can't even talk to you anymore." And they didn't know what was going on with me. And I had a bit of confusion at first because, of course, I had a lot of questions about,
Of
being
course.
Christian and who
Of
Jesus is and what
course.
it means to me. And
Yeah.
I used to say, but I'm reading and I'm studying, and it says, our Sabbath, it's on a Saturday, and everything says to it, and God says to do it in His Ten
Yeah.
Commandments. And then it was explained to me. Tom Atkins explained, well, it can be a Sunday, it can be any day as long as that's the day you devote
To the
to
Lord.
the Lord, and you
Yeah.
have your own parameters.
Well, Debbie,
And
your story touches us all. And I just say to everyone out there, it's never too late or too hard or too anything to think and consider the Lord and who He is and who Jesus was Jewish,
yes,
by the way.
yes,
There wouldn't be a Christianity if there wasn't the Jewish faith, God's chosen people. And so keep yourself open and consider things of the Lord. Well, we're going to have Debbie back tomorrow to talk about some of the Jewish festivals. I hope you'll tune in. It's fascinating. See you tomorrow.